Dennis Franks is a 22-year veteran of the FBI. He is also a licensed private investigator, security consultant, and personal protection officer. Dennis, as always, thanks for being here. I want to start with this video and what we have seen so far. We just showed about a minute-and-a-half clip of Gabby during that stop on the side of the road, and she said, "Brian grabbed my face." She's clearly distraught. We see some new angles of that police encounter. As an investigator, how do you receive this video, and what do you do with it?
First of all, let me say that police investigating a domestic situation, it's a perilous situation always. It's very delicate, very difficult to traverse. But what I see here is, and I'll add this if I may, when I was a senior in college, I had the opportunity to intern with the district attorney's office, and I later became an assistant DA there. But my job as an intern was as a victim advocate for women in abuse situations. I learned a lot. There are females who encounter situations and they don't know how to act. And that's what I saw here. She was definitely victimized here. But yet she was taking on the position that she was okay. It was just an argument. And let me tell you, there are situations where women in these situations don't have a chance. And that's what I think happened here. He went beyond. There was no reason for him, according to what she said, to grab her face, to hit her like witnesses saw occur. So I just wanted to say that, and it lends itself to the profile of Brian. I try to be objective, but everything I'm seeing is that this was an abusive situation.
Well, the question I have for you, Dennis, as an investigator, does this change how police are approaching the situation now? If, in fact, right now they're looking for Brian, he is wanted, a warrant out for his arrest because they believe he used Gabby's debit card. They don't have a warrant out for an arrest that they think he harmed her at this point. Does this give them evidence to charge him with anything more based on what Gabby is saying in this video?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it changes anything really as far as the effort. I think it's been the same from the beginning. Once her body was found and it was ruled a homicide without indicating the cause of it, what the exact circumstances were, which I think they have some indication of. I think that's been clear from the beginning, and the pursuit has been that from the beginning. I don't really think it changes anything except maybe giving them a clearer perspective of the situation.
And also, we're just seeing these images, these videos for the first time, but I would bet that police have already seen it and had this information. At least I would hope so. Dennis, as each day goes by, do the chances of finding Brian go down? What do you think?
In my 20-some years in law enforcement, I managed command posts. And you see ebbs and flows, you see peaks and valleys in investigations, and I think that's what we're experiencing now. I think that it's always better if you can find somebody early on, but I think he'll be found eventually. And I do think that he's probably either gone somewhere remotely, out of state, or and I do think he's probably still alive. He'll be found. I'm confident of that. I don't know when, but I am confident he will be found.
Many people hope so. They did take more items, more belongings of Brian's out of the family home today, they say, to assist in the canine search. Does that indicate to you some progress?
I don't, as far as the progress, I don't, I think it's just an opportunity to gather more evidence. It's probably biological. It seemed that way based on the collection devices they had. It will aid in some, I would think, in determination of the murder itself. What's there. Obviously, they were close. There's going to be a lot of mixed DNA, but I think there's probably something that could be significant as far as additional biological or DNA evidence that could actually help with proving the cause of the death.
Which we still don't know. They did do the autopsy. We have a manner of death, which they ruled homicide. We still do not have the cause of death. Dennis, all this attention on the case, the search from social media, from the public has been intense, not just there in Florida, but really since the start of this case all across the country. Does that kind of intensity from the public help, or does it hinder the investigation as police look for answers?
I think it's a mixed bag. It's, obviously, I think they're getting thousands of pieces of information in daily from social media. There are probably sightings of him. I think there have been possible sightings in other countries, all kinds of information, and all that has to be deciphered. It has to be looked at. So that is a challenge as far as resources, but it is necessary because there could be any one thing that's of evidentiary value in any of it. So I think overall it is an advantage. I think anything that will lead to solving a case, an investigation, I think is helpful. Despite having to weed through everything and evaluate it, my experience has been that sometimes innocuous pieces of information have some value when you put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Right. You would think every little bit helps. What about Dog the Bounty Hunter? He's conducting his own search in this DeSoto campground in Pinellas County. If you're the FBI, do you welcome that high-profile person helping in the investigation and search?
I think the jury's out on that, but my experience has been, especially since I've been in the private sector, that I often team up and I'm kind of a middle ground for private sector, clients in law enforcement. Sometimes we're able to come in and provide additional resources that are beneficial. So I do see that as potentially beneficial, and I think that could be the case here. There may be situations where there's interference. I don't know what that would be, and I don't see that here. That is always a law enforcement concern, but overall I would say it's probably beneficial, and I would welcome it. The private sector can be helpful in assisting law enforcement. I'm
curious your thoughts. Typically in some of these big investigations that have so much attention on them, you hear regular updates from investigators, from the FBI. They step in front of microphones, they hold press conferences. Here's what we're doing today. Here's what we're doing tomorrow. Here's what we found. We have not really seen that from the FBI since the start of this case, kind of piecemeal information. It started with local police. What have you made of the way that they are communicating information at this point to the public?
I think there are reasons for either being very communicative and putting a lot of things out there, and there are reasons for not doing that. And I think in this case, they're holding the cards, close to the vest, and I think that's probably appropriate in the situation. I think at some point they may come out and be more expressive as far as press releases and so forth. There's certainly tactical reasons for doing this, strategic reasons, and I trust that they're doing the right thing in that regard at this point.
Before I let you go, the parents. There's a lot of heat on the parents right now. They don't have to talk. That is their right. But people do want to hear from them. They're curious about their behavior after Brian came home. They're curious about their behavior when Gabby was missing, and it didn't appear that they were helping in the search. As an investigator, how do you communicate right now with the parents for information?
Well, obviously they've lawyered up. And so it's difficult, if at all, to be able to communicate with them without a lawyer. Not that they're suspects or charged with anything, but I think there's still a personal appeal that's appropriate, that can be done to them. I think that it never hurts to try to talk to people, to talk to relatives, to talk to the family situation. The attorney's probably stopping that. But it would be, if I were an investigator, I would want to talk to them. Just talk, just spend time around them, talk to them, just see if they'll open up. They don't seem to be overly concerned about his whereabouts, and it's just all kind of bizarre to me.
Does that indicate to you that if they don't seem concerned, that they know where he is and that he's safe?
Yeah. I would say that they don't seem to be too concerned about him doing something to himself because, you know, the behavior I've seen, they're going about their business, going about their days. I don't think they're doing anything other than the attorney telling the law enforcement that, you know, you need to go look here. That indicates to me that they're overly concerned about his well-being.
Many in the public critical of that behavior, but you never know how you'll react if it's your child. Dennis Franks, appreciate your insight.